The following podcast reflects the views and opinions of the hosts and guests only. They do not reflect the views or opinions of any agency or specific members of an association. At times, colorful language may be used and may be unsuitable for people under the age of 18. Discretion is advised.
All right, hello everybody, back at the podcast. I'm being told episode number 12. Our followers are now at, what are we at, Adela?
3 million.
3 million followers on this show. I mean, I don't know how we're not getting picked up by Spotify. I mean, Joe Rogan, who?
Yeah, he's on his heels right now.
Yeah, he's nervous. He's reached out, Steve, do you guys mind maybe stop doing so many good shows? I said, no, I'm not doing it, Joe. You want a piece of me? Come down and see me, and I'll have someone else fight you because it kicked the shit out of me. But sitting to my left, this is not Dan Coyne, as you can tell. Dan can't pull off a mustache like that. This is my man, Greg Stinnett.
Good morning.
That's man of few words for sure. Greg, how does it feel being on the show?
Oh, I can't wait. Since the first day I've come up here, the first thing I want to do is be on this podcast, and now I'm here, and I can't tell you how excited I am. Thank you.
Love it. We're gonna talk. We got a good story about Greg and a former officer of ours that has a tough time speaking, and we're going to talk about that story so people can get a real good grasp on who Greg Stinnett is. And if you see him out and about, if you shun him or you don't say hi to him when he says hi to you, there's going to be some problems. So some of the things we're going to cover here, Greg, we're going to talk about our football game. We got Remond Willis going to be coming in, Bolton Area Command Officer, was one of the centerpieces for the team. We're going to talk about unfortunately, Erica Ballou, I don't even like calling her a judge. It may sound petty, it may sound childish, but judges don't do what she's doing. And we're going to talk about some of the stuff about that. We're going to talk about some elections, and we're going to talk about some of our area command stuff and IEB stuff. So looking forward to a good show. Looking forward to having my man Greg here, and we're going to get right into our first episode. It's going to be about the football game, and Willis is going to come talk to everybody about what happened out there and how it was we came to beat the sparks off of them firemen. All right, everybody, we're here with our star, our main drawing attraction from the football game, our middle linebacker, our defensive coach, our spiritual advisor. He was also the chiropractor a couple times. Remond Willis. Remond, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. Greg, you got anything right now?
Well, just happy to be here. Thanks, Steve.
As we talked about in the intro, it's Greg's first show, so I'm going to kick a lot of things over there just to put him on the spot because he doesn't want to be. So we're talking about the game. We're talking about the giant ass whooping we put on the fire department, which was great. Give the folks a little bit of background. You're a police officer. You have a history with football, and kind of what brought you to Metro and what your life was like when you were in the league and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I grew up in a little town just south of St. Louis, Missouri. It's called New Magic. Some people are familiar with the fault line, so it's right by the Mississippi River. I went to college, University of Illinois. I transferred to Tennessee State my last year, played with those guys, and then after that, I bounced around the league, practice squads, went up to the CFL, played up there for a couple of years. CFL probably treated me the best, and after that, I came to Las Vegas. I thought I was done. I tried it again, came back to Las Vegas, and I started coaching at Rancho High School, and for some reason, I ran into this guy named Rich Forbes. He was actually over the department
at the jail,
the DSD,
yep.
Correct. And I didn't know that. And he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, why don't you join the force?" And I'm like, "Oh, he must be, a cop or something at least." So he talked me into it, and then I got on the department, and I found out that he was a correctional officer. He wasn't even a PO. So I was like, "Yeah, Rich, you could have told me you was a correctional officer. Maybe I would have joined the jail." But, that's how I got, into Metro at that time. And, growing up, it was always like, if you have it in you, you have it in you. I knew I was going to be somewhat of a protector somewhere in the field because, they had me breaking up fights. I was always bigger than everybody in my class, faster. And, I just had my head on my shoulders. Never got in any trouble, never used drugs. I didn't start drinking until I got 2 years into college. So that's how I ended up here in Las Vegas.
So, with regards to football, what position did you play in the pros, and who'd you play for? And
Yep, so I bounced around. I played linebacker in college, linebacker in NFL. When I got to CFL, I actually played defensive end. which is kind of funny because the reason I transferred in college is because Ron Zook, the coach, the well-known coach for Florida Gators, moved me to defensive end. So I was like, oh, you know, I'm not a defensive end. So I transferred out of there, and then I ended up playing defensive end anyway. So maybe he was right on that point. I played practice squads for New Orleans, Baltimore, St. Louis. Then went to CFL. I played Saskatchewan Roughriders, Calgary Stampeders, and Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Difference between playing football in America, football in the CFL.
So the CFL have some funky rules. They we got the linemen are 1 yard apart actually. The field is width is wider, 65 instead of 50, and then the length it has 10 yards in the middle instead of a 50. So it's a 50-50 and then a center. And then you know the goalposts are in the front, and the goalposts win every time they're undefeated, right? And then they got that big 20-yard end zone on each side. So it's 150 yards.
Well, I always knew that you had the 55 at the middle of the field, but I didn't know you had 15 more or 13 more yards in width.
Oh yeah, on the sides.
Yeah. Are you playing 12-man though too, right?
12 man.
And this is the crazy shit where you can the receiver can sprint toward the line of scrimmage.
Like a head start.
Yeah,
for sure.
Was that super beneficial?
I don't know. I never had to cover, so I'm glad I wasn't the linebacker because those guys can really get you up, especially with the running start. It's crazy.
Now, so you're on the job. You probably never thought you'd play football again, I'm assuming. And all of a sudden, this crazy dude from the PPA reaches out to you and says, "Hey, man, got an idea." What were you thinking of when we started this whole thing?
I mean, I knew we were going to win because you had certain people that was going to help out, but it was you answer some prayers. There's a lot of guys on this department that actually want to do stuff, and nobody ever put anything together like that of that aspect of the game. And we got a lot of athletes on this department. We don't know it, but we do.
Yeah, it was fun. I remember telling some of the folks that we had guys sending us game film of them playing in college and stuff like that, and we were worried. I know Adela and I were worried about the firemen always beat the police in everything we do, and so we were nervous. And when I talked to you, I remember the first conversation. I said, Willis, are you in football shape? And you said, I'm always in football shape.
Always.
I said, all right, now at least we got one guy. We got one, and then we ended up having 88 people email us wanting to play. That dwindled down to a team of about 40-ish. And, because I wasn't there talking with the guys. You guys always were. You had your text streams going, talking about the game. What was the enjoyment or involvement of all the guys on the team?
It brought back a lot of memories. We didn't have group chat back then. Back then, group chat, what's that? But group chat, we put a group chat together, and you don't know this, but these guys wake me up 3 a.m. in the morning. Oh, coach, what time we practicing? I'm like, bro, this is you're not getting paid for this. So what are you doing? But it was very entertaining. I love being around those guys. They really brought joy to my life for those 4 or 5 weeks, and I think everybody enjoyed it, man. We need to do it again, definitely.
How was it? Do you think you ever would have interacted the way you did with a lot of the guys on the team if it wasn't for that football game?
Absolutely not. I didn't know half of those guys. I didn't know half of those guys were on the department. We got speed guys. We got big guys. Trey Gillio, that guy, he played for the Jets. He played for the NFL also. We got another guy that played for Bishop Gorman, running back. And I didn't know this. Until you reach out and ask, you won't know that we have those kind of athletes on this department.
And I think our running back, Eno, played semi-pro ball, right? And so did Lionel?
Correct.
Lionel Vincent, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, Eno had the best touchdown run, the first run of the game. He touched the ball 40 yards, waved or gave a peace out to the DB for the fire team.
Looked pretty easy, right?
Yeah, it did look pretty easy. That was kind of the goal, was not just to play a game and win a game and raise money for our charities. It was also, hey, how can we have a guy that works Bolden Area Command get to know someone on D Platoon at CCDC more than just walking into the jail, saying hi, and walking out.
Right.
I think we accomplished that. That you guys, I see everybody now when we've seen at our events, we've seen guys from the team, from the jail, from patrol, get together at our event with their families and kind of build more of a bond with each other rather than just the work bond, Of
course.
So I had Greg, you got anything else?
What was the reaction like in the locker room at halftime when you had an opportunity to see everybody in the stands and the participation and who showed up? Did you guys have a conversation about like that? Like holy shit, look at all the people there watching.
Yeah, so at first, we didn't understand how big of a deal it was so when we first went out there to warm up, it was like maybe 100 people there, but they don't know, people come like right before the game starts. So especially at halftime, it got even packed. So, you got to, I told those guys, like, hey, these people are here to watch you guys play, not anything else. Of course, it's a charity game, but they want to see football. So don't hold back, and they was really excited. It was like another game starting over again. So.
Right.
Your speech in the locker room, I don't think we saw until after when our when Rollin' Seven put together the video of it. But that one of the coolest things that stood out to me was when you told them, listen, this same group will never be together again.
Never.
And people be like, no, all those guys could play. Listen, odds are not all of them will play.
Right.
Or there will be additions.
Exactly.
We had one guy, I don't mean to dog my cops, but we had one cop, I think after the first quarter, said, oh, man, fire doesn't hit that hard. Maybe I'll play next year. Like, okay, well, maybe you won't be wanted next year if that's your thought process. So the video was cool and the leadership, and I know all the guys really turned to you. And when I started talking, before I even called you, I started talking to people about, hey, who's out there?
Mm-hmm.
I'm an old guy, got 24 years on this month. I'm not in touch with all the newer folks that are athletic and that. A lot of people thought I was going to play. They're like, listen, you almost were in the NFL as a quarterback. You were amazing. Like, we know what you're all about. You're the best ever. Could you play multiple positions, Steve, like running back, quarterback, and receiver? And I was like, no, I don't know who you're talking about because I suck. But,
we would have got you there for sure.
Not a chance. Zero chance. Listen, I saw you guys' conditioning practices. I'd have died on the first sprint. But it was just great to see everyone say the same name. They kept saying, hey, you got to get a hold of this guy named Willis. Got to get a hold of this guy named Willis. And I think you were on the SAT team at one point, right?
Yeah, I was.
Because that's where everyone knew you from.
Right.
And then funny story moving kind of forward is, so I was talking to my wife. She works in dispatch. And before the show started, I said to Willis, I said, hey, I got to talk to my wife about her involvement with you. And he's like, hey, Steve, man, I ain't do nothing with your wife. I was like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. But so she said about 2 weeks ago, day shift, there was a big incident in some other area command, and all area commands were required to send a body to another area command to handle calls.
Southeast.
Yep. Cool. So she said that dispatcher asked for you.
Uh-huh.
Sergeant gets on the radio and goes, send anyone else. I need him staying in my area. He is like 3 cops in one.
Right, yeah.
My wife says, you'll go to 417s, like, hey, it's all right, I'll advise on the back. She's like, no, I'll advise on the back, it's okay. So you got a really good reputation in Metrocom. The ladies over there think you do a good job. Very clearly, your bosses in your area think you do a good job. And, we appreciated you being involved with the game, man. We really did. And we do look forward. We've talked about where we go from here. Mm-hmm. I got a gift from the Raiders. Adela and I met with the Raiders a couple weeks ago. Holly is one of their PR sponsor people. And so we talked to her about the game. And the first thing she said was, I'm so upset that we didn't really know about the game. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's okay. We sprung this thing together so quickly that it wasn't feasible to have everybody really know. But they absolutely want to be on board with what we do next year for the game. We're going to be moving forward with this game for next year. So we hope you stay in game shape. We hope you tell some of them guys to stay in game shape. But we're also looking at, Greg and I were talking about, hey, how do we, we have a recruitment problem here at Metro. Okay. And it's not just us, it's across the country. May of 2019, we had 1,600 applicants for police officer. May of 2021, we had 254. So people don't want to do this job, and we'll talk about some of the rhetoric going on across the country and even in our own state with a judge. But so we talked about, well, how can we get people to be involved with wanting to be a police officer, but also add something to it with the football game? So we came up with this idea of going to UNLV, UNR, USC, UCLA, and firemen, don't get upset about this because this is what we're doing, and pitching to them, listen, a lot of you, and we want you to be involved. Uh-huh. Because, listen, a lot of you won't make it to the league.
Right.
A lot of you won't even make the semi-pro, but you still got to put up food on the table. You got to make a paycheck. We're going to pitch this department and what we do here and the great benefits and pay and stuff like that. But then we're going to slide in with you, hopefully, to talk about this new aspect of football that we have developed and that does that make somebody go, man, it's great, I can still lace up and play the game that I've always loved? Or do they go, nah, it's okay, I'm done?
Nah, you're never done with football.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if any sport, if you play professional, if you played it at the collegiate level, you always want to go back, and there's always a soft spot. It's like having a daughter.
Yeah,
and you always go back to it. You're never done. You're going to get involved somehow, some way.
Whether it be coaching, playing,
something.
Well, that's where you're going to come in pretty handy to us, being a former player in the league, now being a police officer, and being a part of that game that we started back up. We really look forward to trying to put a bigger, solid team together. We've had, what is it, Greg? The United States Police Football League, USPFL, is that what it is, Adela?
Yeah, we've had a couple of teams from Southern California reach out and introduce themselves and talk about what they do in their programs in the California area and asked us to take a look at that. So it's pretty interesting to see the amount of police football teams there are throughout the country and the participation, and it's definitely eye-opening.
Yeah, the USPFL has been pushing on us hard. They play a 4-game season.
Okay.
They travel and stuff like that. So, our future sheriff, Kevin McMahill, if we can make this work and bring back a USPFL championship to the Everly MPD, that would be something fun to keep doing and keep people involved and get more people involved in the game. And we for sure want to thank the over 3,000 people. That's what we were at count. Over 3,000 came to that game.
That's a lot of people.
It was crazy.
Time we had.
Yeah.
For sure.
So now talking about, we talked about some of the rhetoric and stuff, and we'll just get into it just real quick. And, talking about the current issue we have with a certain judge here in our state. And a lot of people have talked to me about, the judge issue and, she should be allowed to say what she wants and people don't get it. Like, our issue is being on the bench. Like, you as a police officer, whatever your personal beliefs are, you can't go to a call and interject them into the call.
Correct.
You shouldn't be cheating on your wife. You should have this religion. You shouldn't be practicing this one. You don't get to do that.
Not at all.
And so this judge, in my opinion, threw out her own personal opinion. She made a statement about, I as a black woman don't think I'd come out of an encounter with police officers. Since that's popped up, what kind of conversations have you guys as our cops and things like that? Is that something that, yeah, it's okay, she has a freedom of speech, or is it no? It's kind of bullshit. Like, you can't say that because it makes people think that that's how everybody is.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know the judge. I don't even know her name or anything or what she believes in. But here's my advice for people who think like that about cops, especially here in Las Vegas, because we hold ourselves to a higher standard than most of the country. So if you want to make a statement about that, fine, do it in your own personal time, right? But when you go out to the public and you say certain things, especially me as a black man, I have a son, I have nieces and nephews. I don't want them to hear that, because when I come home, they know I'm a cop, right? So they look at me and think I'm the bad guy. So if you make statements like that, you need to be politically correct, and you don't need to put your personal opinions in it, for sure. And like I said, here's my advice. Before you make statements like that on air or in front of a lot of people, go out and do some research, or sit down with a cop, sit down with the sheriff, sit down with Steve or somebody from the PPA. Ask them the questions that you don't know, because what you don't know, and you're going to make your own assumptions up. So that's my advice.
And then she had a follow-up video where she, in essence, told the prosecutors there was a multi-time convicted felon with a gun in his car that took off in the vehicle from the cops, where she said, well, I can see why he took off. I understand why he took off. Like, I don't understand, and you as a cop, how you make a statement like that could put the general public their safety at jeopardy, because this guy takes off. He's not a trained driver. He's trying to get away. And if he wrecks out and kills somebody, and a judge is saying, I could see why. Maybe they should have approached nicely with like a teddy bear and walked up and said, can you please put these handcuffs on yourself? It's stuff like that makes your job harder, because when people hear that from a judge, that's not some asshole on the corner. That's a judge. That's a respected elected official.
Correct.
And now when they hear that, they're like, oh, okay, maybe that's what I can do. As long as I get this judge, I might be okay.
Right.
And that makes your job less safe. It makes your job harder to do by making comments like that. And that's the thing that we took issue with.
Correct. Yeah, so I joined the department for a reason. She got elected for a reason. That's to help people. In the end game, you want them to go home, you want them to be safe, and you want justice to be served as a judge. So again, I don't understand why she made the comment. Maybe she had a run-in with somebody. I mean, regardless, you talk to your spouse about that. You talk to your friends about that, but not at work. I'm not, I don't bring my personal problems to work. I don't share my personal problems with anybody at work. If they want to talk about it, cool, I'll listen, but I'm not going to give my opinion.
Yeah.
You never know who's going to hear that.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. So next year's football game, can we expect Fire to put together a better team to try and beat us, or do we think it gets worse?
If Fire needs help putting together a better team, we should help them. We're going to win regardless. I'll recruit for them.
All right.
Because in the end, it's all about charity. We're trying to make money for kids and help people. But when you step on the field, that's a man's sport. That green turf is there for a reason. It's not to pity pat around. We put helmets on, shoulder pads, mouthpiece, knee pads, thigh pads. We're not finna just powder puff with you. We're gonna take it to you. So I'm gonna need them to get it together.
Do you know how many people did not believe we were playing tackle football?
A lot of people.
Greg and I went to sponsors and that, and we're like, "Hey, this football game." They're like, "Yeah, but no, this is legit, like full
flag football."
For sure.
They didn't get it.
No, if you would have played flag football, you wouldn't have seen my name anywhere on that.
Not happening.
Not happening at all.
And we wouldn't have had 3,000 people in
Absolutely
the stands.
not.
A flag football
maybe
game.
5.
Yeah. So for next year, this year we raised about $130,000 in that 2-month period, and this year we're starting early. We're starting pretty much this month,
right?
To go out and talk to sponsors. Our goal is $250K for next year, and so anybody listening to the show, if you want to get involved with a sponsorship for the game or questions about the game or anything like that, please reach out to us. We've got a lot of big people on board. UFC sponsored us, VGK sponsored us, Station Casino sponsored us. So we got a lot of big names that were out there.
Okay.
And I share with everyone, I shared it with the Raiders, what my hope was for 2024, that the Saturday before the Super Bowl, we're playing this game the day before the Super Bowl is.
Oh, I like that.
And so, we'll see where that goes. A lot of people tell me I don't think that can happen. Till it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But till then, I'm always working for it. So anything else you want to put out there for the folks?
No, that's it. If we have that game, I expect the whole Las Vegas area to show up. So if we put it on and have it at that Allegiant Stadium, we need to fill it out for sure.
There you go. Hey, Remond Willis, our linebacker, our coach, our public protector of Bolden Area Command, who Bolden will not let leave his area. And we appreciate you being on the show, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, pal. Man, it was great having Willis on here, former pro officer right now, great guy. Just love having people like that on our agency representing law enforcement.
Willis was a key part to making this happen. I don't think people realize just how instrumental his role was, going out and recruiting officers, coaching officers, mentoring them, making sure this was a success that it was. And his experience playing college ball and pro ball certainly doesn't hurt at all. The guy's outstanding.
And then we had, we touched on it a little, but Bonanza High School, we had our charities, Law Enforcement Assistance Fund, the Professional Firefighters of Nevada, Children's Heart Foundation, great groups. But one of the groups that we really didn't know how much impact we'd have was Bonanza High School and Coach Keith and Coach Jalil. Yeah,
first of all, the kids at that school are incredible. Coach Keith, Coach Jalil. That was an incredible byproduct of this football game that we never even saw coming. First and foremost, Coach Keith and Coach Jalil's dedication and commitment to those kids is second to none, and it shows through. And it shows through in the kids' participation in the event. Throughout our experience in dealing with this, we picked up a new police recruit. Jalil actually is in the process of applying and testing for Las Vegas Metro to hire on, and I truly believe had we not had that interaction with him and those kids, that we probably wouldn't have had that reach and been able to reach out and recruit him for this job. And he's exactly what this valley needs with respect to being a police officer and serving our community. So I'm super excited about going to Jalil's graduation from the police academy and watch his career progress. And it's just a terrific byproduct of this football game.
What a cool story it's going to be to have the game this year where a coach was helping us out with everything we needed. And Jalil was there at every practice, every night. I was out there. He was there turning the lights on for us, making sure we had access to equipment, whatever we needed. Right. And then let's fast forward a year, and hopefully he's playing in the game.
Incredible.
As an employee of LVMPD.
Absolutely
it's going to be cool. So to all of our followers, all of our cops especially, Bonanza really stepped up for us. They did a lot for us. They gave us the field. They didn't ask for anything in return. They were solid people, salt of the earth people, in there doing things for the right reasons. They're not doing it for notoriety. They're not trying to be the next Bishop Gorman coach. They're just trying to make an impact on kids' lives. How do we make an impact on their kids' lives? Like they made an impact on our football team. October 7th at Bonanza. That is their homecoming game against Spring Valley. The games are usually at 6 p.m. It is my expectation that we can try and fill the stands with as many police officers, spouses, kids, fans of the show, anything for that game. We need to show support when people step up and support us. So we're going to talk about it again. We're going to send it out at the end of September, but please mark your calendar, October 7th, Bonanza High School versus Spring Valley, homecoming game. We need to be there for those kids and show them that because they did what they did for us, we will turn around and embrace them in our police community and say, hey, we're here for you. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
That's the one thing that the kids asked of us, right? When we were out there, we talked to the kids who volunteered their time to help out in the game. And we had a conversation with those student athletes, and we said, hey, what can we do for you? And the first thing they said was, come to our homecoming game. So I'm not going to miss it. It's absolutely going to be a great time.
And those kids were out there working too. They were keeping the stands clean. They were running the chain crew. They were keeping the bathrooms clean. They were working. So, we owe it to them to be there for them for their game and go out there and support those young men and potentially young women. I don't know if they have a young lady on the team, but if they do, we're going to support them all. So October 7th, mark your calendars, please, and let's plan on making a big showing out there for those football players. Next topic. It's been a big heated topic. It's Judge. I don't like saying that name in front of her. Erica Ballou. She ended up making a comment, and we'll go ahead and play that video, the first one of what she said right now. Okay, so that was on the heels of a pretty cool weekend for me personally. I got called, Adele, I got a phone call about, hey, could you be on a panel with Adam Laxalt and Joe Lombardo to talk about law enforcement? And I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. And then an hour later, it turned into, hey, we want you to actually be the moderator. And, oh, yeah, former President Trump's going to be there. And so now I'm like, holy crap, I'm really on the spot here. I got to get my suit cleaned. I got to figure out some stuff to say. We get out there. It was really, really cool. I thought maybe there'd be like 10 people there. There was several hundred people there. Mm-hmm. We had a really good time. Got to meet the former president. Got to moderate a really good panel with Laxalt, Myron Ham, and Sheriff Lombardo. And then we roll into Monday, Guy Fieri Foundation. Guy Fieri put on a lunch for first responders. It was amazing. Went out there, took my daughter, got to meet Guy Fieri, talk to him about doing some stuff with the PPA. He's totally on board, totally supports police officers. Actually talked to me about a small police department up near San Francisco where they almost have zero budget.
Right.
And he fundraises money for these guys to buy equipment and stuff like that. So great kind of weekend. Like a lot of cool things happen. And then I get this shitty video from an officer about a judge. And what we just played for you is what I saw. And I started talking with the team like, listen, we're not the crew of law enforcement to let something like that go by without a response. And respond we did. Mm-hmm. We sent a letter about wanting to see her resign. We contacted the chief judge about reassigning her. Chief Judge Weiss, an endorsed candidate of ours in the past, gave us some, in my opinion, some cookie cutter bull crap response about there's a process to follow. didn't really take, I think, our issue seriously. And our issue was related to a judge. I don't care about race, creed, ethnicity, political affiliation, religious affiliation. I don't care about any of that. You're supposed to be impartial on the bench.
Right.
When you get up and you tell a defendant who ran and fought with the cops that me as a black woman, I want to stay away from cops because I don't know I'll come out of it alive.
Right.
Sets fires in our community with people because this is supposed to be someone who's revered. A judge is someone supposed to be honored and looked up to. And when you sit on the bench and make a comment like that, you tell a city full of potential criminals that it's okay to act a certain way because maybe if I end up before this judge, I'll get a lighter sentence because she gets it. You know, it was a crappy end to a cool weekend.
Yeah, it was. And that's a judge who sits in a courtroom every day with a law enforcement officer who carries a gun, who's sworn to protect her and the people in her courtroom. Listen, you can have whatever opinion you want about the police. You can love us, hate us, it doesn't matter. But when you're a judge and you put that robe on and you sit on the bench, you have to be impartial. You have to call the balls and the strikes. And a person sitting in your courtroom or watching your court should have no idea at all what your personal opinions are about law enforcement or anything else, because it doesn't matter. If you want to hate the police or if you want to make those inflammatory comments, do it in your chambers. Do it in your backyard patio when you're barbecuing with your friends, but you don't sit on a bench and represent the scales of justice and make those comments. It's just absolutely disgraceful and it's inappropriate. And it's embarrassing to her profession. I got to believe that her peer judges got to be kind of embarrassed by those comments there. It's just not right.
Yeah, I got to imagine her peers that are not like-minded like her, the real fair judges, are probably avoiding her in the back hallways of the courts down at RJC. And then we fast forward to Brian Greenspun with the Las Vegas Sun. Writes up an article that alludes to the fact that Judge Ballou did a good thing, and she actually kept police officers safe. I don't know how that one worked. That one I'm still trying to figure out how, by saying, I don't know if I'll come out of a contact with police alive, and then the next case, and we'll play that video again right now on the second one. And so you've got that second video where she's basically telling the prosecutors, listen, I get why that bad guy hopped in the car and drove away, endangering the lives of people. And I don't think there's too many lives in danger. I think that pretty much the only one in danger was himself. You start doing that stuff, and then you get Brian Greenspun coming to your defense, saying that the police should thank her, and we owe her an apology.
It's nuts. It's I think it's kind of indicative of a larger problem we have throughout the United States right now of defunding the police, of making the criminals right and the police wrong, switching the entire narrative around to put the blame on the people who are trying to protect our community. Listen, if you have an interaction with the police that you don't believe is right, then you file a complaint through the internal affairs process, and it goes through that process, and people are held accountable. But man, you don't sit on a bench as a judge and tell somebody, yeah, you probably shouldn't stop for the police. It's okay to run from them. It's nuts.
There was a position going around a while back, and it was comply then complain. You don't like what a police officer's doing. You think they stopped you because of your race. You think they had no probable cause, no reasonable suspicion to stop you. Hey, listen, do what they tell you.
Right.
Complain later. If they're unlawful or unjust in what they're doing, they're going to get theirs. And you know, Greg and I are not going to say that there aren't bad police officers out there. We know that they are. They're hiding in the shadows. They're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. That stuff, we know that goes on. Judges are in the same boat. I'd love to see some of the judges open up their finances and see who they've maybe gotten some money or some kickbacks from. But I'm not going to say all judges are bad. But then you get a hack, and I'm going to hope that our censor allows me to keep the word hack in for Brian Greenspun. Your little crap newspaper that you write your little editorial in luckily caught our attention. I used to read it just because you usually publish things before the RJ, but most of the time your stuff that you published was dribble. Then I see your article, and it made me just really cement home that the LV Sun is better used as the floorboard for a cage full of guinea pigs to take a shit on. So if they can do that on digital media, that'd be cool. Like drop your phone down, let a dog or somebody take a crap on it. But that's what you're making your paper out to be with your stupid comments about us owing her apology. And as we wrote in our response, your request is denied. We will not be apologizing. Quite the contrary. We're going to keep stepping on the gas pedal on Erica Ballou. And we've already filed our judicial ethics complaint. And we're going to hope that they investigate that. We know we can't recall judges, unfortunately, but hopefully somebody reassigns her and puts her over no criminal cases involving the police whatsoever. I think we were told that Henderson has already asked her to be recused from a case involving one of their officers, and so hopefully that trend continues, that the only thing she sees is a landlord-tenant dispute not involving the police, and we go from there. So to Judge Ballou, to Brian Greenspun, ain't forgot about both of you, and we're going to keep moving on you both. So good luck to you in the future.
Yeah, Judge Ballou's reelection campaign started when she made those comments. We're not going to forget. I'll tell you this. I wish that a Mr. Greenspun or a Judge Ballou can meet Officer Willis that we just talked to, jump in his black and white, and ride with him for a day or two while he's out there shagging calls and living in the worst 20 minutes of somebody else's life and making critically important decisions like that day in and day out, and see just how many times they get it right and do a great job in service community. People like that, they don't get it. They don't understand it. And I think had they had the opportunity to sit in that black and white and to see what these men and women do every day, day in, day out, and do a great job, maybe that would change their perspective. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe they'll still hate us or want to spew that anti-police rhetoric, but at least they'll have some foundation to be able to speak off of rather than their cocktail parties and so forth.
Yeah, I usually like to agree with you, Greg, because you're as big as a barn, but I'm not going to agree with you on this one. Here's what they're going to tell Willis. You're a sellout. That's what they're going to tell a guy like Willis. We saw it during the riots and the protests, was our black police officers, our Hispanic police officers, our female police officers, anything other than a white police officer, they didn't say, hey, you're the change we need. They said you're a sellout.
Right.
You aren't like us. That's what Ballou and Greenspun would say. They'd say, I can sit here and talk to you all day. You're not us. You don't get it. You don't know what it's like. And they don't care. And that's the shitty thing about it is that's exactly what would happen, is they would just take that position. And so to me, they're nothing but morons. And, it's unfortunate she got elected under a wave of some probably questionable elections. I'm not saying fraud. I'm saying that people that were elected were spending like $1,000 on a campaign and were getting elected because people were just not really paying attention.
Right.
Like you said, hopefully her next one, people are paying attention. And I've always got people paying attention, and we talked about anytime we do something, I usually get backlash. When we had the issue with Michael Bennett, where Michael Bennett called our officers racist and profiled him, I got death threats. I got me and my family are a bunch of Nazis, all kinds of stuff. A lot of things my wife doesn't even know about because I don't want to alarm her, and it is what it is. So knowing we were, having an issue with a judge, a black female judge, I knew I'd be getting some more fun messages. And we talked about doing like the mean tweets, like the background music, everybody hurts. Like that would have been kind of fun. So I was like, nah, but I did find the one guy, and I liked this guy. I thought it was kind of funny. Now, I don't know who he is. His name is John House. John, I'm sure, is much of a hater of law enforcement you are. I bet you watch the show because we just went over 3.2 million followers, and you're probably in there. But you send me an email, and we'll put it up on the screen. And the email was, wow, I looked you up after learning you called for Judge Ballou's resignation after she advised the defendant in her court what is only God's truth. How ironic is that you even look like a pig, oink, oink. F symbol, 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 you racist pig mother, symbol, 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 ER. I call on you to resign, you piece of dog, S symbol, symbol, T. So I responded to Mr. House and said, can I ask you, why not actually just type the curse word? It's interesting to understand why you would put symbols in over the actual words. So to John House, I know you're listening. If you send me any more emails or anybody wants to send me any crappy emails and call me names, call me a pig, call me what you want, if you're going to curse, just curse. It's okay. I'm not offended by the curse word. I know what it says. I didn't have to have, someone from National Treasure come in and decipher what you sent to me like it's a code from Egypt. It's pretty well laid out. So just send me the words. It makes me feel better. I don't have to really think too much. I just like to get a straightforward ASS hole instead of, a high apostrophe exclamation point hole. Just send it. So maybe one day we'll come out with some cool mean tweets. I had some good ones back when we did Bennett. I got some other ones here recently, and maybe we'll roll a mean tweet out. But till then, Mr. House, thank you. I understand your position. And as I said to you, have a wonderful weekend. We will now get into some of our endorsements for the PPA and talk about some of the folks that we got that hopefully we can get elected. So we'll come back to that segment here in 1 second. And we're back.
Well, welcome back.
We got to get that soundboard, Adela. I got to be able to push the buttons for the "and we're back" and the stuff. Like we need funny ones. Yeah. Can you make sure she gets on that? Because the only person that gets things done is you.
We'll get it handled.
I heard you had
some good game show music going.
I heard you had a little bit of an OCD moment last Friday. Like Brian Yansman rubbing off on you a little too much that you rearranged the entire downstairs offices.
I just cleaned a little bit of stuff up here.
I heard it was a little more than just clean things up. I heard it was
a few things there and some downtime.
There were some people concerned for your well-being with how deep you were getting into your OCD.
The blood pressure meds are working and the OCD's stable, so just a little bit of house clean. That's all.
You want to talk about some of our endorsements?
Going backwards, Judge Ballou is an excellent example of why these endorsements matter. John Abels, our Director of Governmental Affairs, he has recently, with the Public Safety Alliance of Nevada, went through our endorsement process, and we established a list of people that we have endorsed for various campaigns throughout the valley and throughout the state. That endorsement list is on our website, lvppa.com. It's also on our social media, on our Instagram and Facebook pages, if you follow those. If you don't, please do. If you do, you can go through there and see who the candidates are that we endorse, especially for these judgeship positions. The governor's race is going to be crucial this year. We recently have Kevin McMahill, who is going to be our next sheriff. I just can't emphasize enough how important it is for our members and for those who are supportive of law enforcement to take a look at that endorsement list, to consider it when you're voting, and we would certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, it's we do a pretty good vetting process. Listen, we can talk historically about what we've done and who we've endorsed. First term election, we endorsed Steve Sisolak. We endorsed a lot of Democratic candidates because they came in and said all the right things. I support your right to bargain. I support your PERS, things like that. And so, but what we learned through the special session and through George Floyd was that most of them were liars. They were flat out, no doubt, liars. They passed legislation for us that codified rights for our officers in the regular session, and then came back in the special session when we had nothing go on here. We didn't have any issues with anybody, and they said, no, we still got to gut your guys' protections because the public wants it.
Right.
And I remember talking to one of the legislators, and I said, when you say the public, do you really believe that 2 million people want to see police officers stripped of rights, or do you believe it's that small screaming group that calls your office and emails you of maybe 500? Right. Well, it's probably the 500. I go, then why are you going after us?
I think it's strictly political posturing, and you can thank Nicole Cannizzaro for that. I think she's the person who's directly responsible for police officers losing their rights in the state of Nevada, or those rights being diminished. And I think Governor Sisolak had an opportunity to prevent that, and he chose not to. And listen, those decisions have repercussions, and if you think that we're going to support you when you do that, you're sadly mistaken. It's not going to happen. We're going to fight for the rights of our police officers, those men and women that go out there every day and put their lives on the line.
Yeah. So we'll talk about some of our endorsements, and I want to, it would be crazy for some law enforcement organizations to endorse some of the candidates they do that showed their true colors on support for law enforcement during that special session. when they were coming after and trying to gut a lot of our rights. Whether it had been use of force, whether it was our police officers' Bill of Rights, the things that they said they would absolutely protect, qualified immunity, any of those things. And so, when we look at our governor, we're supporting emphatically Joe Lombardo for governor. If we want to bring back law and order, if we want to bring back jobs, if we want to keep our economy going, I love seeing the commercials. Like, I just saw this morning at the gym, Steve Sisolak talking about how we've created so many new jobs. You didn't create any freaking jobs, man. Like, you unemployed people. You can't call it job creation when you have job eliminated during the pandemic. Like, stop it. We're trying to get back to the levels we're supposed to be at, you moron. Not, hey, I look at all the new jobs I created. Like, there's no new jobs. It's all the old stuff that our economy, they're like, oh, we're the fastest growing economy. Because we were the greatest decreased economy in the country because we survived off gaming and tourism.
Right.
And now that people can come out again, and our governor didn't say, hey, we can't close you down. You're not, an essential business, or you are an essential business. People are coming back to town, and so that's crazy if anybody buys off on the rhetoric and the commercials. And listen, the Democratic committee is spending a lot of money in this race. I believe Steve Sisolak was quoted as one of the 7 most vulnerable governors in the country during this election cycle. And so they're gonna lie, they're gonna cheat, they're gonna do what they got to do to try and make sure. And I don't say cheat. Everyone always gets all hopped up on cheat. I'm not talking about cheating elections. I'm talking about cheating with the truth and telling you what's true and what's not true. And so they're going to spend a lot of money coming after Joe, coming after the great job that Steve is doing. Listen, I spent time up at that session, and I used to talk to Steve fairly frequently. And that guy didn't show his face in the legislative building other than a couple times. Like, he's not doing his job. His chief of staff ran things. He was incompetent. He was over his head for that job. He thought because he came off the county commission that he could do it, and he can't. And he's not going to. And we need to see Joe Lombardo get the support he needs. I know there's people out there, Joey Gilbert, it's over. Joey's out. Joe Lombardo's your candidate. If you're going to be a Republican, if you're going to be conservative, and you're going to support a change in the state, that's the guy. If you say, hey, I'm not going to vote because I don't like either of them, you just cast a vote for Steve Sisolak. That's how that works. If you say I'm not going to participate, that's one vote for Steve Sisolak because he needs to keep that gap. And if you as a Republican or conservative or independent don't go out, then he's getting one by you not coming out and trying to get it changed. So that's why we went with Lombardo. We look at Attorney General Aaron Ford. Aaron Ford kept talking about the Breonna Taylor case, the no-knock warrant, things like that. He continued the narrative into the session talking about no-knock warrants and things like that. He continued to perpetuate these stories of police officers being violent and things like that. And so you can't get behind, as law enforcement, you can't get behind a candidate like that. You can't. And he says, when I was in the legislature, I supported you guys. Yeah, you did what every other Democrat did. You supported us on the things you needed so that you could keep getting law enforcement support. But we've seen your true colors. Like, we're not doing it anymore. Now, NAPSO's doing it. Rick McCann's doing it, representing Henderson, which we have great relationships with the folks at Henderson. I've talked to many officers over there that have asked the PPA to overtake their association because they hate NAPSO. They hate the representation they get there, but they have no one else, and I've told them we can't do it. But other than them and our civilian union here at LVMPD, which is not commissioned officers at all, they've got little counties, like little pop-up groups that NAPSO's infiltrated, and these people say, well, I've got law enforcement support. Aaron Ford says, I've got law enforcement support, and it's kind of true, but the real law enforcement, the one that's out there that has jurisdiction everywhere, can go into Northtown, Henderson, everywhere they want, is the LVMPD, and the LVPPA represents them. You should be listening to who we tell you to support because we care about law and order. We care about getting judges elected that will hold people accountable. We care about getting a governor elected that's going to right the ship and take it out of the course that we're on, which is guiding a legislature to make crime less and less and less. When they change laws at the legislative session, they're only helping criminals. They're not helping cops. They're not helping you. They're helping criminals. And so we've got to stop that. We've got to stem that tide. So the folks that we're supporting, and then we go into Senate and we go into Congress and things like that. And who are we supporting there?
So for representatives in Congress, District 1, Mark Robertson, District 2, Mark Amodi, District 3, April Becker. District 4, Sam Peters. For United States Senate, Adam Laxalt. Attorney General, Siegel Chadha.
So those are our national ones, and we've got a lot more. If you go to our website, lvppa.com, our endorsements are there. But so talking about Mark Robertson, I don't know a ton about the guy, but the hope is that nationally we can take some control back and have some common sense legislation. I say the same thing to a lot of legislators: is any law you pass should stand the test of time, not the test of a legislative cycle. If you're passing bills that you know are going to get overturned in 2 years or 4 years because another party comes in, whether it's Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. You're not passing correct legislation. You're passing your party's legislation. And so we need to start doing a little bit more common sense legislation across the country, in the state, whatever. Mark Amadei, he's been up there representing many times. He's a good man. Really hope he continues to pull through. April Becker, she is as solid as it comes. April Becker should have beaten Nicole Cannizzaro. She was a relative unknown. She jumped into the race for state senate against a Senate Majority Leader, Nicole Cannizzaro, and took her to task. The first day after the election, she was up by X amount of votes. When the mail-in ballots came, she ended up losing. But she is a sharp lady. She cares about our community. She cares about cops. She cares about the civilians. She cares about holding people accountable, and she's going to do a phenomenal job in D.C. And then you've got Sam Peters. Sam is a great, great man. He's out there doing things for the right reasons, trying again just to get the ship righted in the right direction. Not going heavy far-right politics or heavy far-left politics. Just wants to get proper legislation passed. And then the big race is Adam Laxalt versus Catherine Cortez Masto. People have said, well, Steve, you guys supported her in the past. Absolutely. She's just like the rest of them. The rest of them, they'll tell you what you want to hear, and then they'll turn and they'll go a different direction. And I had a personal conversation with Catherine Masto about the George Floyd Policing Act when they were first trying to pass it. And we had this big, long conversation. At the very end, she goes, boy, Steve, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. I'm still gonna sign on to it. Like all the things I just gave you, all the reasons why, all the things that are bad that you guys need to go back to the drawing board on. You didn't care. You just want to check a box that said you talked to Steve, and that's it. And so I hung up on her, and since then she's got to go too. They're all the same.
I think nationally we see that trend. These guys are vulnerable right now. This defund the police, anti-police movement that's taken place over the last couple of years has not been productive. Crime rates have spiked. Recruitment for law enforcement is in the toilet. People don't want to do this job anymore, and that's thanks to a lot of these lawmakers and people in power that have absolutely destroyed the system. So they are vulnerable. There's going to be a lot of money poured into their campaigns from a national level, but I think that the people who wake up and go to work every day, they want to live in a safe community. They don't ask for very much, but they want to be safe. They don't want to be robbed while they're going to the store to get groceries. And I think that you're going to see a pretty big turnout this next election day. And this endorsement process is, like I said, it's critically important. Please go to our website. There are a lot of endorsees on here from the LVPPA and PSAN. And we need to take Nevada back, and we need to make a statement to these guys.
And you talk about like people wanting to feel safe. Look at the video from that savage up in Sun City that tried to shoot that man up there that took off running from. Like, if that gun was working, that's a murder.
He's dead.
That guy wasn't trying to just threaten him with it. It was pulling the trigger, malfunction, try to clear the malfunction, pull the trigger again, malfunction again.
Right.
That man, for all intents and purposes, should have been dead. If that's an operable firearm, that's what happens. And in the middle of the day, in a part of town that you wouldn't think that happens. And why does that happen? Because politicians embolden criminals to go out and do criminal crap. And when they go before the judges, they think that nothing much is going to happen. And that's a fact. And, I got some emails after the Donald Trump thing, and they said, well, what's your stance on Donald Trump saying it's a cesspool in Las Vegas? Listen, it doesn't mean the people here are a cesspool, but crime is rising. And there's only so much people, what's the sheriff doing about it? Sheriff's allocating every resource he has. We're down 270 bodies here at LVMPD. The biggest agency here in town, we've lost 270 people that we have open positions on. We can't fight all the crime every day of the week. And when people don't want to do this job anymore because of politicians and the way they're treated, it's gonna get worse and worse. And so, when he says it's a cesspool, yeah, the crime here is. I mean, we just had my sister-in-law is the director of CSA. 2 nights ago, they had a double murder that she had to go out on. The next day, they had another murder. I mean, it's just we, the police, can't stop that. We don't have we're not Time Cop where we can know that something's going to happen in the future. Shout out to Jean-Claude Van Damme, did a hell of a job in Time Cop. But we don't know that stuff's going on and go grab that criminal before he commits the crime. We gotta respond to it, unfortunately. And we conduct the stops we can. We can't stop people for jaywalking anymore. I mean, they passed that people can jaywalk whenever they want. If some of the legislators had their way, all narcotics offenses would not be criminal. It's a sickness. They should treat it as such. And so, we need to get people back in office that will stem that tide. And our next topic, even talking about kind of violence and things like that, is going to be about the video. I think it's out of New York, right? The 16-year-old that attacked and got in a fist fight with the cops. And the DA out there shifted it over to the juvenile courts and says, the juvenile courts will take care of it. So, please follow our endorsements. If law enforcement means anything to you, follow the people that we're asking you to follow. We're not doing it from a union standpoint. We're doing it from a law enforcement standpoint. And we want to see our cops be safer. We want to see you be safer. And we want to hold the bad people accountable. And if we elect these folks, we're going to be able to do that. So our next segment is going to be about that video and the importance of training.
We're cutting to the video now?
Yeah. I'll give a little lead in. So we're going to play the video. If you haven't seen it, most of our cops have seen it. It's been on Twitter. I think it's on YouTube. It's on Police One. It's all over the place. 16-year-old kid getting in a full-blown fist fight with an officer. I think the premise behind it was the male and his female girlfriend jumped the turnstiles to not pay for the subway. Officers go out, and this is what takes place.
Pause for 3. And then we're back.
Okay, so a lot of things happen in that video. One of them is, we as cops, and listen, I'm no master at anything. Chad Lyman is. Chad Lyman is a master, in my opinion, of jiu-jitsu, police jiu-jitsu, controlling individuals that don't want to be controlled. When we look at some of these videos and we look at how much are you putting into your profession, to training. And let's go back to football. I can guarantee you Willis didn't make it to the NFL or the CFL because on his days off, he did nothing. He didn't work out. He didn't hone his craft. He didn't study game film. He just showed up on game day and played the game, right?
Absolutely.
So training is the same. We know here at Metro, we don't have a ton of time to train. You guys, I get it. You got 6,000, 7,000 calls a day to respond to. You barely get lunches sometimes. You're not getting the training you need. And some of it is the fault of LVMPD. LVMPD needs to step up and say, listen, we need to put a priority on training. Not once a year at AOST. Once a year is not enough to get proficient at anything. So if that's the point, if that's the issue, you need to go get it yourself. And so we look at the video, and I don't know what kind of background the officer has. I don't know if he's worked any striking. I don't know if he's worked any body locks, body control, takedowns. But one, you got to go do this stuff. It's okay to go get hit in the face. Chad and I hit each other in the face all the time. Neither of us are dead. I can assure you, if you've never been punched in the face and you watch enough TV, in your mind, you're going to think the first time you get punched in the face, you're going to get knocked out, you're going to fly back 15 feet, and you're going to be totally incapacitated. When the truth is that your adrenaline's pumping, you're okay, you're going to make it through that. But you got to be doing something. You got to go to a local gym. You got to work with other cops that train. You got to sign up for some seminars. You got to go learn some stuff so that you can be safer. So when that kid's throwing punches, standing straight up, you can change a level and drop down and get a body lock and get him to the ground as safely as you can for your own safety. I'm not saying there's not a time to put some punches on a bad guy. When they want to punch you, you're allowed to punch them, for sure. But if you don't have to, trust me, punching people sucks. Hurts your hands, hurts a lot of things. The quicker you can get a fight to the ground and get someone in control, that's what we want to do. Right, Greg? I mean, how many times have you been in fights or wrestled with some guys out in the field?
I've been a cop for almost 19 years now, and I can't tell you how many times. And more times than not, it's two people that don't know what they're doing, throwing fists and pummeling each other until somebody submits. And you have to always make sure it's the other guy so you go home. But I will tell you this. I remember throughout my career going to the AOST classes once a year, and the instructors show you some technique that you do once for that 2 or 3 hour period. You never try it again, and you come back the next year and try to repeat that. Throughout the course of that year going on calls for service, you don't remember how to even apply those techniques. So it's incumbent upon you to better yourself, to understand what it's like to get hit, to understand what it's like to have another person manhandle you, and to be able to know how to control another human being. Let's face it, in today's age, assailants, suspects, bad guys, whatever you want to call them, are more apt to go hands-on with us. I don't know how we got to that point. In the beginning of my career, I think it was much fewer than what it is now. But people in today's age they have no compunction whatsoever going hands-on with us, and that's disconcerting, especially in Las Vegas. There are a lot of people that train here. There are a lot of people that train mixed martial arts, and to be able to know how to counter that and to be able to effectively take somebody into custody without hurting yourself or them is paramount. At the PPA, at least a couple of times a week, we train. We offer free training for our membership. And Chad Lyman is outstanding at it. Like I said, whether you have a black belt or no belt, come up here and train with us. It's cops working with cops. There's no egos. Nobody's going to treat you like crap or try to embarrass you. It's strictly about trying to make you a more competent street cop, to instill more confidence, and to give you those skills to effectively to deal with a person who's coming at you physically. And let's face it, in today's day and age, optics play a huge part in this. I think that to some degree, officers are somewhat hesitant sometimes to use that heightened physical application on people because they're afraid of how they're going to be judged by their employer, by the department, and by people that are watching the videos. So you have this weird conundrum right now of people that lack the training, that are also probably not as confident as wanting to apply that because they're afraid of how they're going to be judged by the department sometimes.
It's also, just learning that distance sometimes is not always your friend. Looking at the video, you get someone trying to grab and pull a guy, and sometimes just getting all up in someone's business, putting your forehead right under their face and getting close to them. Like, been in that position with Chad many times. The punches are a lot weaker. I can't hit you hard when you're right here. It's very tough, and you're in a good position. And so, go out and learn something. Learn a tactic, learn something new, do it more than once. The jiu-jitsu, there's a shirt that's out there. I love the saying. It says, jiu-jitsu is the beautiful art of folding someone else's clothes while they're wearing them.
While they're in them.
That looks better on body cam too than standing over, punching, striking, stuff like that. Like that doesn't look good. Even though we can defend it, it doesn't look good. If you can get close to somebody, take them down, take them into custody in a safe way, that's preferred. So, like I said, go out and train, do something, come to the PPA and train. Don't worry about getting beaten up. You're not going to get beaten up. You're going to have a good time. You're going to learn. And then when that savage out there wants to test you, you're going to be far better suited to take them on than the person that thinks, well, I go to the gym and I lift weights, so I'm good. You're not good, because that 135-pound young man with the ears that look like strudel standing in front of you not wanting to go to jail, he's going to eat your lunch, and you're going to have to potentially resort to a higher level of force, i.e. a weapon, when you may not have had to if you could have just done some training. So go out and train, please. Train a little, a lot. Chad says that all the time, but it's true. Train a little, a lot. Do one thing, do it all the time. If you got kids at home, put them in an arm bar, put them in a Kimura, put them in a leg lock. Have fun with the kids, but keep doing it. So if you end up in that position, you're an officer that fell to the ground and there's a guy standing over you, Like, oh wait, I know how to do this. I can just get up on that knee and take him down and get him in a quick little knee bar, and I can bring him into custody. So, do something. So that's it for the show. This is a little long. I'm getting that, man. I got the Academy Award. Like, yank you off.
I think we're getting shut down.
Yeah, that's okay. This will get edited down. This will be a 5-minute podcast, I'm sure. But I want to thank the Raiders for sending us some pretty cool gear after our meeting. We really appreciate them and their willingness to want to support the game and anything else the PPA does. Want to thank Harlow Steak. I don't know if I shouted them out. Harlow Steak, Chef Gina at downtown Summerlin. Some of my friends in businesses that own steakhouses may not like this, but best steakhouse in Vegas. Go there. They make this stuff called broccolini. It's crunchy broccoli. It's the best thing you ever had. It's probably horrible to eat, but it's delicious. You take a cauliflower and broccoli and bread it. It's delicious. So go to Harlow Steak. Give them a shot. What?
I'll stick with the steaks. Thank you.
No, I'm telling you. You say that until you try it. You'd be like, oh my God, Steve, you're right. So thank you to Harlow Steak for always taking care of us when we go up there with some folks. And if you want to see me out and about, you could see me at Harlow Steak every now and again. Had dinner a few nights ago and had random people come up to me. Hey, I saw you at blah, blah, blah. It's like, holy cow. So thanks to them, to our sponsors, Black Rifle Coffee Company. Love to have you as an official sponsor. We've thrown your name out there enough, but we'd really like to have you as an official sponsor, sponsoring a podcast that has over 3.35 million followers now. We really don't, but we say that. So anybody that wants to be a sponsor of the show, let us know. We'll push your stuff. Shout out to the Summerlin Rotary Club. Had me out there speaking to the folks at the Rotary Club. Really appreciated their time. Great people there. Any final thoughts, Greg?
No, I appreciate you having me, and to those men and women that are out there pushing a black and white, stay safe, and we're here to fight for you every day.
Yeah, hey, we've committed to everybody. We'll never stop fighting, and we won't. Doesn't matter if it's a judge. Doesn't matter if it's someone that we're supporting right now for politics that wins and then turns their back on us. You don't get to be friends and then turn on us and then say, well, hey, I thought we were friends. It's not how we work. I'm a little touched like that. I'm a little nuts. Make sure you're out there doing the right thing. To our cops, always be out there with your heart in the right place. Have your, sometimes you're going to make a mistake. It's okay. Just have your heart in the right place, and we hope we've got a new regime coming. I think we'll get at least another couple podcasts before Kevin McMahill takes over, but we're going to have some meetings with him. One thing I can tell you is I do truly believe this uniform is going to change. Our patrol uniform is going to, from all signs that we're hearing, go to a more functional, comfortable uniform rather than the 1973 best dressed wool pant uniform that you currently wear. So we're going to keep pushing on that. Love when you make that noise.
Hard to get rid of those wool pants from 3 decades ago.
Yeah, we're going to edit in. That's going to be on the soundboard whenever we can. So thank you for your membership. Thank you for watching the show. If you have questions, podcast at lvppa.com. If there's something you want us to address, send us an email. And when you're on the elliptical at the gym and you're listening to two morons like me and Greg talking, we hope you enjoy it. So we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
111, 110.